Alt season. What is it? Why do we see an alt season? And will we see an alt season this cycle? And in my opinion, when will we see it? I see a lot of influencers, people on Twitter, also YouTube, talk about alt season quite frequently. And it's full of hopium. It's understandable that that's what people like to hear. But is alt season actually that common? Does it happen a lot of times? Let's talk about that. And also, let's talk about the dangers of alt season. Because there are definitely dangers there as well. So let's try to make this video about alt season as realistic as possible to really manage expectations, but also to give you the dose of hopium, which we can like realistically expect for this cycle. Okay, so welcome to the Fomo Factory. My name is Menno. Blup. No, you know, whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's about the alt season, not Menno season. Like the video. That's what it's important. That's what is important right here. Subscribe to the channel. And if you haven't turned on that bell notification, please do so. You can stay up to date with everything right here. So first off, let's talk about it in the order that I kind of started the video with, which I already forget. But let's start at least with what is alt season. All right, because I think a lot of people mistake what an alt season actually is. And by the time we get an alt season, it might not be that interesting. And by the time you think like, it's not interesting anymore, then we do see a real crazy alt season and then you might already be out of it. That's a danger as well. So what is an alt season? The crypto market has periods where not everything moves correlated, right? Usually people say, well, Bitcoin goes up and then altcoins go up harder. And Bitcoin goes down and altcoins go down harder. Look, over the complete cycle, that's true, right? If Bitcoin from bottom to top does a 10x, then altcoins overall, right, on average, and I'm talking about average and not exceptions right here, altcoins overall do maybe a 20 or 30, 50, 40x, right? So that's true. And in a bear market, if Bitcoin goes down 70%, altcoins go down 95%. That's true. However, within a cycle, there are periods where Bitcoin outperforms. And within the cycle, there are periods where altcoins outperform. Now, an alt season is simply where altcoins outperform. Okay, so a lot of people, they think that alt season is a period where altcoins go crazy and where altcoins go up a lot. Right? They think that that's what we call alt season. And although you can call that alt season, that's fine. Technically, again, alt season is where altcoins outperform Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin can go down when altcoins go down less hard. So altcoins outperform Bitcoin during that stage. Unfortunately, that's also an alt season. And that's what we have seen last cycle as well. If we take a look at the Bitcoin dominance here, so this is the chart that basically shows what an alt season is, right? Bitcoin dominance. If Bitcoin dominates more, then altcoins dominate less, and that's not an alt season. So if this chart goes up, Bitcoin season. If this chart goes down, alt season. Here, in September 2019, the Bitcoin dominance went down quite hard. However, if we overlay Bitcoin on this chart, there we go, you can also see that Bitcoin went down quite hard here as well. This chart doesn't even take the full amounts, but this is on closing basis. But Bitcoin actually went from 12, 13K all the way back down to 3K or so. So Bitcoin completely crashed. Well, not that much. I don't know exactly, but Bitcoin crashed quite hard while the dominance went down. So this was already an alt season. However, on the dollar pairs of your altcoins, you didn't really notice, right? Because Bitcoin went down so hard. Yeah, altcoins went also down very hard, but just less hard than Bitcoin. So that's what an alt season is. Now, there are a couple of charts that can show you like, hey, there is or will be an alt season. And like I said, one of the charts that is the best indicator, in my opinion, is the Bitcoin dominance. And the Bitcoin dominance is one of the charts that shows me like, hey, alt season is starting or going to start anytime. Why? Well, look, you don't know me from making videos every now and then where I scream during the whole cycle that there's going to be an alt season, right? I'm not a fan of that, simply because it's just not true, right? Here, the Bitcoin dominance went from 54% all the way down to 51%, and alt season was all over the Twitter timeline, right? And there are more of these smaller dumps in the Bitcoin dominance, right? Even this, where the Bitcoin dominance had a pretty good crash, people said alt season. And in some, form, it is technically true that this was a very brief, little, short-lived, small form of an alt season. But in my opinion, an alt season is really a season, right? A season is quite of a big period where altcoins outperform. So if we look at that, we had one real alt season in 2017 where the dominance completely tanked. And we had one real alt season in 2021 where the Bitcoin dominance completely tanked. Now, what were the similarities between these two alt seasons? One, they both got rejected from this trend line over here. And two, they happened during the post-halving year, right? So the year after the halving. If you overlay the halvings on this chart, you can see it a little more clear. With the halving in 2016, we got an alt season a year later. We had a halving in 2020. We had the alt season a year later. Now, what are these two comparisons also applicable to what we are seeing right now? In my opinion, yes. Because one, we're now once again at this trend line. And we happen to start this month in the red, which is good. But that's maybe still a little too soon to call. But hey, so far the trend line is working out. Two, in 3 months, we're sitting at the post-halving year. So the timeline also matches. Right now, what triggers an alt season? Well, that's interesting to take a look at. So if we take a look at Bitcoin, let me see a chart where I don't have too much shit on. What we so far see is that the money that's in crypto, and especially in Bitcoin, again, Bitcoin is dominating the complete crypto market with like 57%. So 57% of all the money in crypto is sitting in Bitcoin, and 14.5% is sitting in Ethereum. Then we have another 6.1% sitting in USDT. Well, then we still have some in USDC, DAI, BUSD, a lot of stable coins, right? So that's where all the money is sitting. And then we have some good money sitting in the high caps, like Solana, AVAX, etc. And then there's a little amount left that's actually in the altcoins that we are investing in. Great! Going perfect so far. Like we should have invested in USDT all the time. But that's how the money is divided. And at a certain point, people, they will take the money from one of these things and put it into altcoins, right? So they either take it from USDT, right? There's 6% sitting in USDT from 2 trillion, so that's quite a lot of money. That's actually money that's sitting on the sideline. People will deploy that in altcoins, right? But there's also a lot of money sitting in Bitcoin. At a certain point, Bitcoin has made a certain amount of gains that people feel like, okay, the reward is not really here anymore. And I have made a lot of money already. So let me put that money into something that can make me more money. And that's how it rotates from Bitcoin into altcoins. Same goes for Ethereum, right? The Ethereum dominance, as you can see right here, is not really sitting at the lows yet. I wonder if it gets to the lows though this time, right? But if you take a look at the Fibonacci tool, then it could definitely be, we're now sitting at the 0.5. Usually the 0.618 is a big level for these kind of things, so it could go a little lower. And it could be that people then start to deploy their Bitcoin to Ethereum. And at a certain point that they feel like, you know what, let me put that Ethereum into other altcoins. And that makes it tank even more. Right? So that's also a possibility. Another way to look at this is by looking at others. And others is, if you're familiar with the channel, you already know what I'm going to say. This is everything in the top 125, excluding the top 10. So no Bitcoin, Ethereum, no high caps like Solana, but also no stable coins like USDT, USDC, and XRP. Okay. So these are really the mid, high cap altcoins, right? But also not the low caps, right? Everything outside of the top 125 is not even tracked on TradingView. If you look at the total crypto market or others or whatever, it's not even there because it doesn't add up anymore. But others also has the dominance, right? So if we take a look at others dominance, so really the altcoin dominance, then it's very clear. Altcoin season is when altcoins go up in dominance. They dominate more, right? We are not really going up at the moment, right? We are sitting at the lows. And I've drawn this parallel channel a while back, which is at least accurate since, 2017 when we came into this. But you could take this all the way back to 2014 because this is where we got that resistance, actually. And then we went below it again, and then we got in, and we are basically hovering since we are there, right? We went to the top, mid, top, low, mid, low, top, low, mid, low. Right? So this is the trend that it's been following for at least 7 years, but you can say 10. What you want to see, if you want to see an alt season, is that this continues for at least another year, right? Because the post-half year, so 2025, should be known for an alt season, right? So what you want to see is this, maybe this, or this, whatever. It doesn't really matter. Eventually, that it goes up here. That altcoins have their time to shine. Now, I know that a lot of people now say like, yeah, altcoins are dead. It's not coming back. But that's the reason why it is so low, of course, right? Here, the sentiment was the same, if you can remember. Here, the sentiment was completely the same. Here, the sentiment was absolutely terrible, right? And every time we went up, that's exactly what they mean with buy the fear, right? People don't believe in it anymore. It is dead. It's not coming back. Okay, that's a good time to buy. And the chart shows, right? We are now sitting at that exact same level, basically. So that's another chart that shows like, hey, alt season might be coming. If we look at very closely where we are, right, we are now bouncing from the bottom, actually. And that's interesting because I've drawn this right here, I think. And we are now bouncing exactly off that point. That's not a coincidence. There are other things that you can take a look at, such as the Ethereum pair, Ethereum on its Bitcoin pair, right? Why? Because Ethereum is the biggest altcoin out there. And Ethereum on its Bitcoin pair has been not so well. Basically since, December 2021, but it started in this falling wedge in September 2022. And in the meantime, we had the merge, we had the halving, we had this, we had that, but we're still going down. We had the Ethereum ETF, but again, that's like news. And I'm under the impression that news doesn't really matter that much because there are charts that are super predictable and the news comes after and that shows like, hey, it played out this time again, right? I gave some examples earlier on the channel, but I'm not so much of a fan of news, actually. And it shows again on this chart as well. News didn't matter this whole time for Ethereum. And then people are starting to feel like, wow, Ethereum must be dead, right? All this great news and it's at the lows right now. It's dead. Nah, it was sitting super lows. Like here, Ethereum was completely dead. Completely dead. And here, Ethereum had a great run, an insane run, right? Ethereum on its Bitcoin pair gained 5.5x. In the middle of a bull run, right? Bitcoin also went up like I don't know how much from this complete period, but a lot. So Ethereum was really outperforming. And that money, like other altcoins, especially if they are created on the ETH chain, for example, they are having their liquidity paired with ETH, right? So I don't know, 10,000 coins is worth one ETH. Well, if ETH goes up, then these coins also go up, right? Therefore, that triggers altcoins. People see that and be like, wow, let me get in that altcoin. That's kind of what triggers an alt season, right? People just rotating money. That's just what happens. Back to a chart that I wanted to show though, which is super interesting if you ask me, is Bitcoin. Right now, if you look how altcoins perform after Bitcoin, and look, all we do here is, I'm not predicting anything because I can be wrong about everything, and I will be wrong about everything because predictions are kind of bullshit. But what you can do is just analyze like what happened before and try to make it make sense, right? And then look like, okay, what is happening right now? Hey, something similar is playing out right now. Wow, the chart is doing the same. That must have like some kind of a connection to each other, right? And if you look at this, let me draw something for you in real time so you can see. Bitcoin broke its all-time high here, right? And if we go back further in time, Bitcoin also broke its all-time high here. So let me draw a vertical line as well to see when that exactly happened. Kind of over here and kind of over here, right? That's where Bitcoin broke its all-time high now. I know people say like, well, Bitcoin already broke its all-time high. Yeah. Nah, not really, right? If this is like, it went above it in a wick, but this is not to be called a breakout in my book, okay? And again, 4-year cycle from bottom to top, everything that happens in between is noise. That's different every cycle. The cycle itself, 4-year cycle, till the day of today, plays out exactly the same every time so far. But again, what happens in between those cycles, yeah, it can go there, doesn't matter. I don't care what happens. Like, I want to go from A to Z, right? What happens with B and X in the meantime, I don't care. Y is also there. But this is what Bitcoin did, right? Bitcoin broke its all-time highs at these points. Now, if we overlay the altcoin market on this chart, then we can see something pretty interesting. So let's overlay others again, right? Why others? Because I'm not so interested in USD. Like, you can overlay the total 3, right? Which is everything except Bitcoin and Ethereum. But I'm not so interested in what USDT is doing, or USDC, or XRP, or Cardano. Like, these coins are not interesting to me, right? So let's overlay others once again. Let's do it like this. And yeah. So what you can see, these white vertical lines is where Bitcoin very clearly broke above its previous all-time high and never came back, right? Never came back at that level. Look what happened at the others chart when that happened. This is where others, the altcoin market, really kind of started its second leg as a breakout, right? And what you can see in the last cycle, which is even more interesting if you ask me, this is where Bitcoin made a new all-time high, right? But this is not where others broke its all-time high at. Others broke its all-time high here, right? After Bitcoin broke its all-time high. So in order to see that happen, that apart from alt season, what the video is really about, but in order to really see an altcoin breakout, we first need to see Bitcoin breakout, right? Altcoins, they never front run Bitcoin, right? That's just not what it is. Bitcoin is the one that shows like, hey, let me jump off of a roof. And altcoins be like, okay, I'm gonna wait for a couple of months, see if you're okay. You're okay? All right. Let me jump off a tower. Right? That's what altcoins do. They wait longer, but they do it more drastic. It's kind of crazy, but that's just what it is. They're pussies. So what we need to see right now is Bitcoin to really break above its all-time high. Right? And that just did not happen yet. It's not weird that Bitcoin is ranging here as where it's ranging right now. People, they get very impatient, right? So back to the basics, it depends on Bitcoin, right? It depends on Bitcoin. But people get impatient right now. And people look at it like, hey, I mean, we had the halving, right? In April. We're now in September. Why isn't it going up, right? Well, I mean, here Bitcoin had the halving in May, and the real breakout happened in October, November, right? It's not weird. It is not weird. Matter of fact, if you compare it to the last cycle, you can also see, or the cycle before that, you can also see that Bitcoin was actually really front-running the cycle before that, right? It was really front-running. And then Bitcoin decided like, I need some rest. And it cooled off for a bit. And when it got on track with the other cycle, it went up. And people try to give it narratives, right? We now have rate cuts, elections. These are not the most interesting things. Well, rate cuts are interesting though, but elections are definitely not even in the top 10 of the most impactful things when it comes to market movements. It's actually just how much money there is in the market, right? And if it's QT or QE. And we're now in QT. And in QT, people just don't invest in risk assets that much, right? And QE will be coming. Also, this is altcoin season index, by the way. This is pretty interesting. Once we are in the red, we are closer to an altcoin season. Once we are in the green, it is Bitcoin season. We're now more in the green again, right? Here in March 24, it was saying like, hey, we're getting closer to alt season. It wasn't alt season by far though. That's hopeful, right? Because in March 2024, look what happened with the altcoin market. This was the altcoin market in March 2024. It made its cycle high, but it wasn't even close to alt season. So that's still to come, right? Now, that's in my opinion super interesting. Why? Well, look, I mean, again, you first have to realize that Bitcoin is going way higher than where it is right now. If you don't believe in that, then you should not even track the altcoin market. If you don't believe in Bitcoin, then you should also believe that your altcoins are going to fucking zero, right? Because altcoins would have never existed in the first place if it wasn't for Bitcoin. So if you hope that your altcoins are doing right, you better believe that Bitcoin is going to do right, right? So, but let's assume that on this channel, we all believe in Bitcoin, okay? And if you don't, can't help you. Not in this video, at least, right? But here, altcoins were sitting at an all-time high, right? March 2024. Now let's overlay something else right here. Let's overlay the Bitcoin dominance on this chart. It was here, right? Could be more perfect here. What do we see? We see that, again, this red line, it's the Bitcoin dominance, right? And the Bitcoin dominance, the higher it is, the worse it is for altcoins. Although the altcoin market was sitting at cycle highs, the Bitcoin dominance was as well. Can you imagine if the Bitcoin dominance finally goes down? How altcoins on the dollar pair would look by then. Now, we haven't seen anything yet, to be honest. Like, I don't want to be that moon boy, but let's be realistic. We haven't seen anything yet, right? Yes, we have seen altcoins go up in a period of this cycle from last year, end of last year till March, give or take. But again, this is the dominance, right? And this is Bitcoin, but this is the dominance. The dominance also went up. It's not because altcoins outperformed really hard or anything. I mean, Bitcoin completely crushed altcoins. It's just because Bitcoin went up, right? One, the dominance hasn't even went down, right? It's not even alt season yet. Two, Bitcoin really hasn't even broken out yet or anything, right? So what we have seen so far with altcoins, it actually is nothing yet, right? And I don't know, for the people that have witnessed an alt season before, one of the two or maybe both, they be like, yeah, I know what's waiting for us. It's crazy. It is really crazy. But it's hard to believe right now, in the middle of this, where everything is going down, Bitcoin sideways, but the dominance going up, so altcoins are going down, right? You can't imagine. You'll be like, it's never going to happen. Okay, if you say so. It's not looking that different from other cycles, right? We have seen Bitcoin at ranges where we were last time as well, right? No big breakout yet. And again, the dominance hasn't gone down yet. Yeah, we had these small, moves down, which resulted in higher lows, right? But not a good downwards trend or anything yet, right? Imagine if that happens. Imagine if the dominance does go down. Imagine if Bitcoin does go up really hard. Imagine if that happens combined. And it sounds like, wow, that's speculative. I don't know, you tell me. Last time, dominance went down really hard. Bitcoin went up really hard. Or the first time. Last time, dominance went down really hard. Bitcoin went up very hard. Right? The only two alt seasons that we had were during the fact that Bitcoin was going up really hard. Right? So it doesn't even have to be as big as this one, right? Or this one, which it won't, by the way. But even if we get half of this alt season, it's going to be crazy, right? Compared to what we have seen in the last year, basically. It's going to be crazy. Now I have this rung right here, which is quite interesting. Bitcoin broke out during these lines, right? Look what happened during that period with the dominance. Bitcoin broke out, dominance went down, right? Bitcoin broke out, dominance went down, right? It's because Bitcoin makes new all-time highs. It's in price discovery, right? And people feel like, yeah, I don't know what to expect. It's not measurable for me anymore. I've made money. Nobody is in a loss at that point, right? Because it doesn't matter where you bought Bitcoin. It's now at the highest price. Everybody in Bitcoin is in profits. So people have money and they put it in altcoins. Therefore, the dominance goes down, right? It's not a coincidence that like the dominance hasn't gone down yet and Bitcoin hasn't made new all-time highs yet, right? Again, not significantly broke true new highs and really had that breakout. Because that comes, compared to the last two cycles at least, hand in hand. We haven't seen any of those. Last time that happened was in May 2017, right? That was the post-halving year. And here it was in December 2020. That was the last month of the halving year. Right, so if we compare to this cycle, we could get it in December. If we can compare to this cycle, we can get it in May 2025. Right? So, and it doesn't have to play out like one of these two, but if that's all we have, then these are some accurate measure points, right? So then we could say like, hey, anywhere between December and May is where this might happen, right? So let's go from, I don't know, December till May 2025, which is here, right? So never mind the chart that I've drawn it on, but this could be the period where it happens. Right now, this is the Bitcoin chart, by the way. I can use that. So what happens in the meantime for Bitcoin? Yeah, like, again, like we are in the middle of the cycle. So of course now it will go different than the other two cycles, right? It's not weird to think that we go sideways down maybe a little bit until this period, right? Especially for altcoins. Again, in December, May, right? So that's the period, right? That's the period where it, on average, so far, out of the two measurements, not a lot, so don't completely go for that, but where it should take off. Now, that's my expectation anyway. I said end of last year, end of this year, beginning next year, right? May is further than beginning next year. But my expectation is end of this year, beginning next year. Why? again, well, if we take a look at the dominance, for example, well, I can go over all these charts, by the way, but the dominance is one of these things. We are now at that rejection, right? At this trend line. And we want to see how this plays out. We have this bull market support band right here on the monthly, maintaining it, right? So if it goes on like this, then it could go a little like, I don't know, right? Crunch time, November, December, give or take. And of course, it could go a little above, could go a little below before the big move really happens. It doesn't really matter, but that's kind of my expectation. And I have more reasons for that. Like I said, when Bitcoin usually breaks out, right? You have Bitcoin broke its all-time high. Let me put it on the weekly to make it a little more clear. Bitcoin last time broke its all-time high in December 2020. Okay? December 2020. Remind that. Well, December 2020 for altcoins, look what happened. It was here. Altcoins didn't break through all-time highs yet. Matter of fact, it was 44 billion. We had to go to 80 billion to break it. We still had a 2x to go. So Bitcoin already went above it, and altcoins still need to make a 2x, right? By the time altcoins broke out, which was in the last week of January 2021, well, last week, January 2021, was here, right? Bitcoin already went to 40K from 20K. So by the time altcoins finally made new all-time highs, Bitcoin already 2x'd from its previous all-time high. I'm not saying that that will happen this time, but it is an interesting thing, right? That Bitcoin, let's do something very speculative right here, which is not going to play out like that, of course. But hey, that means that Bitcoin has to go to 140K first before altcoins even make new all-time highs. It sounds weird, but that's what happened last time, right? And now it's like, yeah, well, 140K, it's never going that high. Again, guys, don't be so pessimistic, okay? Here, when Bitcoin was sitting at 3K, if somebody would have said, like, Bitcoin is going to 70K, everybody would have said, like, what the fuck is wrong with you, right? Because, don't get it wrong, there was a more than a 21x, 2,089% from the bottom. Let's take a 2,089% from the bottom, give or take. In this cycle, would put Bitcoin at 340K. Now, you might say like, well, that's not possible. But that's what happened last cycle, and that was the worst cycle, right? I'm not even comparing it to earlier cycles. So everything within this range happened at least every single time by 2, 3, 5x, right? This happened at least. This is the least that happened, right? And I know about diminishing returns, of course. But therefore, even if Bitcoin just goes to like 200K, what do you think will happen if Bitcoin goes to 200K and the dominance goes down? That's sick, right? It doesn't sound like a lot, but Bitcoin at $55,000, right, is $1 trillion market cap, right? So Bitcoin at 200K is 4 trillion, give or take. 4 trillion, right? Let's assume that the dominance goes half, right? Half of it. That 2 trillion is going to get deployed in the altcoin market. The altcoin market currently is 200 billion, right? So that's a 10x already for the top 125. Again, I'm not even talking about the low caps, right? They move way harder, right? So you could be like, well, 10x. That's more than a 10x. It's way more than a 10x. You could look at it like this. The altcoin market overall from the cycle peak is down 48%. Well, believe me, if you bought the peak, you are now down more than 48%, right? That's because altcoins actually move way more volatile than this chart, because this is an average of the high caps, right? But again, even with a $200,000 Bitcoin, altcoins will get valuations, which is insane, right? From the bottom, until that 2 trillion, it's 2,800%, right? Again, you might be like, what the fuck, 2,800% will never happen. Let's take a look at last cycle. What happened right there? 8,400%, right? That's still very diminishing. Again, this is not me predicting it goes to 2 trillion. But it is me saying like, hey, it doesn't take that much. It only takes for Bitcoin to get on a massive run. Yeah, name one cycle where Bitcoin did not go on a massive run. Right? I don't see it. And you could make it very simple. Right? So we now agree like, hey, Bitcoin just needs to rip, right? Okay, well, look, let's put it on the monthly, make it a little more clear. So this Bitcoin, I mean, tell me this chart isn't bullish, right? But let's just simply look at this. Overlay the halvings. We had the halving, we went on a crazy run. We had the halving, we went on a crazy run. We had the halving, we went on a crazy run. We had the halving. How weird is it to say that we're going on a crazy run, right? We don't have to go as parabolic as here or here, but at least up is in line with the expectation, right? And then altcoins will follow, right? And people, please don't try to convince yourself that this time is different, because again, that has never worked. Of course, be careful for anything like it's not going to be the same forever. Don't be blind for that, right? And don't try to ignore the things that actually are going on. But also don't ignore that crypto is very, very, very cyclical, right? And that people get murdered by the news, right? If we go back in last cycle, right? Here we crashed from 20K to 3K, right? Then we went up to 13K in a very short period of time, way faster than here, right? Just as hard, but way faster. People said bull market is back, right? Just as here, bull market is back. Then we crashed 50%. Then we went from $6,000 finally back to $10,000. These moves are these are almost 2x's for Bitcoin, right? Crazy. We're now whining from 70K to 60K. Can you imagine? Then we went back. And then we went all the way from 10K, 10.5K, back to 4K in a black swan. People said it's completely over. This was the bull market, right? If you already feel that here it was way worse. And the only people that made it in that cycle were the people here that said, no, this time is not different. Because it wasn't. Even COVID couldn't change it, right? This COVID crash couldn't change a bit. Yeah, it had a wake down. Overall, the cycle didn't give shit, right? Don't try to convince yourself too much that this time is different, right? Don't try to outsmart the market, okay? The market loves to do what people don't expect. I don't see a lot of people expecting anymore that this cycle is going to play out like it always does. Everybody is like, again, if you look at this, I've said this before as well. I'm going a bit off topic, but somehow it's still correlated to the topic, right? There's the social risk, YouTube viewers, subscribers, etc. People are not even here, right? People are not even here. Just like 2019, where we had this crash, right? People weren't here as well. We had COVID. Yeah, people were here watching what happened. Like, what the fuck? Just like with FTX. People were here. Look how high the social risk was. Everybody wanted to know what happened. They weren't here to buy the dip because when Bitcoin went a little up again, finally, people didn't even give a fuck. Right? People are not here now. They aren't here. And the few people that are here, I only hear them say, this time is different. It's not going to work out. Now we have this news. It's all a big bubble. I don't know, man. People said the exact same thing over here. And what was this? A biblical buying opportunity, right? And this is a little I forgot the right word, but I'm going to repeat a little bit what I said in an earlier video. But if you look at the altcoin market, apart from ALTSEASON, right? If you just look at the altcoin market on this dollar pair, like that's what most people compare it with, I guess. How much did the altcoin market went down in this cycle from bottom to top? Well, from top to bottom, right? 59%. And they're screaming it's over, right? Well, what happened last cycle? We had that same from bottom to top, that mid-cycle rally, right? How much did it went down? 59%. Exactly the same. Exactly the same. And what was this? Again, a beautiful buying opportunity. It lasted for a couple of months, right? We're now in our second month. It doesn't have to be exactly the same time, right? But if we do not count COVID, it was just sideways for half a year, basically, right? Went down a long time, or down quick, basically, sideways for a long time. Here we're going down quite a long time. Might go up quicker this time, right? We're further in the cycle right now. This is September 2024. This was September 2019, right? Was a year earlier. So it might be that the bull that we are getting goes way faster. It's possible. I don't know. Right? But all I'm saying that this time is no different. Yeah, the time when it happens is a little different. Again, but it's all within the cycle. So I cannot be worried there. Right? Again, people always wonder, like, yeah, well, where's the money coming from? Where do you think money is coming? Where are babies coming from, sir? Well, they're getting printed, okay? It's printed. That's where money's coming from. And that's exactly what's going to happen. We're getting rate cuts, right? We're getting rate cuts. We're getting QE. They already announced it. And you're still like, where's the money coming from? What the fuck? Come on, man. Plus, people have money on their bank accounts. Don't forget that. Plus, 6% of $2 trillion is sitting in USDT. And that's not even USDC and BUSD and I and blah, blah, blah. Just USDT. There is a lot of money apart from what is going to get printed. Right? Don't worry about where the money is going to come from. And also, where's the money coming from? From a Bitcoin that's sitting near all-time highs. So, it's a long video, I know, but I think it's a super important video. And let me know if you think this valuable, like it. I try to make it not too. I don't want to stretch it, but I want to give you as much information in this one video as I can to make this the alt-season video, basically, for all the fucked up YouTube videos out there that there are over the last 2 years screaming for alt-season, basically. Now, is this going to be an alt-season, just like last one, where everything is going to 100x? Where we have easily 50x on this and easily... No, it's not going to be like that. Simply because there are way more altcoins in the market right now. Way more. If you are in crypto... Look, and this is not me predicting it, but this is me giving my expectation, right? If you are in crypto with a good amount of money, you feel like 10x is enough for me. Don't even go with the risky bullshit. You don't need it. Stick with the AVAX, the IMX, the Beams, the Ethereums. These altcoins will do fine. If you do want to make 100x, then I would say follow the channel, because you can easily do 100x without risky altcoins. You first ride the Bitcoin wave, then convert it into altcoins. And then, look, I mean, Bitcoin, again, has already from the bottom until where we are right now done a 3-4x whatever, right? Like 3.5x. Let's say 4x it went. So if you invested $1,000, you could have had $4,000. Then you could have invested that money in altcoins, right? Because altcoins, hey, tada, we're sitting at the low against Bitcoin. So you now have $4,000 that you can invest in the altcoin market. So if altcoins do a 10x from this point, you already make a 40x in total, right? And that's by putting it into boring-ass altcoins that only do a 10x. Have to do slightly more if you really want to get a 10x out of it first place, but that's not clickbaity, I guess. So, yeah, and apart from that, then, like, if not everything is going to pop, what to invest your money in? Well, look, what I'm doing at least is just look like, hey, what altcoins have already showed strength in this cycle? Because you can take a look at others. Again, the total crypto or altcoin market cap, right? Excluding the top 10, outside of the top 125, not counted. And from the bottom to the top, when they had a relief dead cat bounce, fucking desperate kind of pump, 70%. Then just look at your altcoin. Did it less or more in that period? If it did less, don't buy it. Simple. Put it away. That altcoin, apparently in this cycle, it's an underperformer. You don't want to get it. You don't want it, right? 70%. So AVAX, for example, from that period, right? End of 2023 till December, December, give or take, short period. 270x. Beautiful, right? There are some altcoins like DOT, for example, right? You can also take a look at this one. It happens to be that DOT had a good bounce, 83%. That's what you can take a look at, like, oh, DOT, it slightly outperformed, right? On the other hand, DOT already made new lows, way newer lows. The average altcoin market didn't, right? So DOT is an underperformer. Don't buy. Cardano, meh. It has more history, so you can make something out of that. But so far this cycle, bad underperformer. XRP, it didn't even have that pump, just went down, right? Like XRP is that stable coin that sometimes also goes down. BNB, crazy, right? Crazy. This thing really outperformed, right? Was absolutely insane. This is kind of what you can already take a look at. Like, hey, how did it perform in this cycle so far? And even in this part right here, actually what it should be all about. BNB had a pump of 96%, but it also maintains that level. It's also important. So I want to leave it here. That's my alt season video. Again, there are a lot of charts that back it up. Another chart is, this is a chart that Benjamin Cohen talks about a lot. And I don't know if I agree with this though. Total 3 minus USDT divided by the Bitcoin market cap. What he basically says is, look, this is the upside of it, right? So this is like the whole crypto market, excluding Bitcoin, Ethereum, and USDT on its Bitcoin pair. But it also contains the high cap underperformers, right? Like XRP and Cardano, right? They take a lot of market share, but they underperform. So how realistic is this to give a global image to the overall altcoin market? That I don't really agree on. Nevertheless, he says like, this could go down here, right? Because that's where it went last time. Yeah, okay. Could be. However, this is a strong support level, what we're seeing right now. And if you take a look at others, again, which I think is way more realistic for the altcoin market on its Bitcoin pair, hey, this is making higher lows during its existence, right? So if this is diminishing losses, then shouldn't this be diminishing as well? And so I think that this could be a bottom. Maybe I'm wrong. It could be. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. Doesn't really matter. I'm saying don't try to be too picky, right? If you have Bitcoin, don't be like, it first needs to go there, right? Just look like what downside does it maybe have? 37%. Okay, that's fine. How much upside does it have? 150%. Is that worth to stay completely out of it? It's a gamble, man. It's a gamble to not be in this altcoin market right now. Because again, a lot of charts are showing like, hey, it should outperform, right? It should really outperform. And again, I think that this chart is really interesting. The Bitcoin dominance excluding stables. So far rejecting at 618. Let's see. Well, and the Bitcoin dominance overall, of course. I don't want to repeat what I said. For now, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let me know if it was helpful, and I'll see you guys next time.